From the studios at WWAY, it's the C.B. McGrath Show. The C.B. McGrath Show is brought to you by your Carolina Ford dealers, Papa John's, AARP, Reed's Jewelers, Molly May, and Harris TV. And now, here's your host, Mike Vaccaro.
Well, good morning. Welcome, everybody. Mike Vaccaro alongside the coach, C.B. McGrath. This is our blurry-eyed version of the show here. Coach rolled back into town about 3 o'clock this morning here. Did you get a little bit of sleep last night?
A little bit. A little bit
after a long trip back from Savannah, Georgia, the Seahawks and the Savannah Invitational. We'll talk about those games coming up here. Our player profile today, Jaylen Fornes. We'll look ahead as well to a big matchup with a rival, East Carolina, coming up on Thursday. But, Coach, the Savannah Invitational here, the first of two in-season tournaments for you guys, and kind of knew about it from your assistant, Doug Eslick. He was in this last year when he was at Mercer, and what were you looking to kind of get out of a tournament like this against some quality opponents from the Missouri Valley Conference?
Yeah, and that was exactly it, Mike. We wanted to play some quality opponents, some guys that we thought would give us a barometer of where we stand right now. It's early in the season, and we've had some practices, and we've been working on some things, and we found out pretty quickly what we need to work on, what we need to talk about, what we need to get better at. And you know, Valparaiso and Loyola, they're both undefeated, and they're still undefeated after the tournament, so they were the two best teams there, or they executed their stuff better than everybody else. But I was proud of our effort the second night. First night, it took us a while to get going, and they got off to a hot start, and we didn't really slow their rhythm down, and they did what they wanted to do more than us taking them out of what we wanted them to do.
Yeah, the first night, Friday night, it was Loyola Chicago. First ever meeting between the Seahawks and the Ramblers here, and you look at this team, again, they kind of got hot. Jackson got hot, a couple other guys there. It was tough for you guys to kind of slow the momentum against this, as you said, undefeated team coming into this week.
Yeah, and the team that they used quite a bit, they had Jackson as the 5. He's a 6'5", 6'6" guy that's really athletic, has a lot of moves in there, was getting us into foul trouble. So we had to adjust our lineups trying to match up with them defensively, and so that sort of slowed us down offensively a little bit at times. We couldn't find a rhythm, but they had 5 guys on the court that were returning guys for them that played a big role on their team last year, and they had a little more experience, and then they just attacked us from the get-go.
And unfortunately, some of your experience was on the bench with some foul trouble. Devontae Kaycock, really the first game we've seen this season where the fouls were a factor in this one. Yeah,
you know, he picked up quick ones in the first half. And when the game got to a double-digit lead, I brought him back in the second, earlier than I would have normally, just risking the third foul, thinking we had to get back in the game, which we did. We made a nice little run, cut it to single digits, and then the start of the second half, he picked up 2 quick fouls again, and so he's out pretty much the rest of the game. Only played 14 minutes. Obviously, we need Devontae to play a little bit more than that. And but it was good for the other guys. We learned what we need to do without him. He learned what he needs to do to be on the court, and you know. Granted, he got in foul trouble yesterday too, or last night, whatever it is. But it's going to be a process. You know, we want to play half-court defense. We want to be aggressive without fouling, and Devontae needs to learn exactly what he can and can't do, and the refs need to adjust to Devontae as well.
Yeah, he's a big kid, makes some contact. Got to adjust to some of that as well. Well, let's take a look now at Friday's highlights. The Seahawks and the Loyola Ramblers. Here's our Harris Teeter highlights. Our thanks to video coordinator Matt Lynch for helping us get those highlights there. You see the final score. Unfortunately, not the way the Seahawks wanted to go. The biggest difference, coaches, we talked about was the 60% shooting from Loyola. But, you know, you look at your offense there, and when you were able to get out and run, you did pretty well. 15 fast break points in this game. Just those opportunities weren't there enough, I guess.
Yeah, and it comes down to getting stops. It's easier to fast break when you get stops. They miss shots, and there's long rebounds and all those kind of things, or get some turnovers, you know. But, yeah, defensively, like, we just couldn't slow them down. We tried a bunch of different things. We tried a bunch of different lineups. Obviously, with the foul trouble, we were forced to. And they did a good job of taking advantage of our weaknesses here and there. But, you know, it was a learning lesson, and we just, between games, it's a quick turnaround. And so that night, we just talked about what we needed to do. You can't really necessarily go on a court and show them anything. We just got to talk about it, and it's more mental preparation than anything.
And we'll see what happened with that mental preparation with day 2 in Savannah. The Seahawks taking on Valpo. We'll have those highlights when we get back. Stay with us. Well, like Loyola, Valparaiso from the Missouri Valley Conference, in fact, their first season in that league after a number of years in the Horizon League, but also an undefeated team. Coach, you go up against them. They had some length, too. They had a couple of 7-footers on this team, including Derek Smits, they had Rick Smits played in the NBA. Yet for you guys, the key early on was the energy, and the energy level was so much higher, I think, than what we saw Friday night. Yeah,
and that's what we talked about with the guys. We had to come out and play hard. We had to come out and give effort and energy on defense and realize that, you know, both times we played at Trask, the fans got us into the game. There weren't a lot of fans at these games, so we had to get each other involved, and we had to do it with energy from the bench, on the court, all those kind of things. And I think we did a great job of that. We got off to a nice little start, made some shots, got after them defensively, and got confidence from that. We got stops, we got on the break, which we wanted to do, and did a nice job converting. And then they did a nice job of adjusting and ended up being tied at half.
Yeah, tied at 35 in this game. A big difference, too, were the free throws. First half, you had 18 attempts. They had 7. By the end of the game, they had 37, and you had 31. So, you know, I know you're fouling down the stretch in this game, but certainly the way this game was called, you know, a little bit tighter for you guys. You had a couple guys that eventually fouled out of this game, unfortunately. Yeah,
you know, we got some breaks here and didn't get some breaks there, and that happens as basketball. You know, the difference in the game was the free throws in the second half, no doubt about it. I think in the last 7 minutes, they went to the line quite a bit, and it was, you know, last 7 or 8 minutes, it was tied, and you put them on the free throw line, nobody guarding them. That's usually easier to make than when they're guarding us and they're not fouling us and we're not on the line. So that was the biggest difference in the outcome, but still, in saying that, we had some things that we could have done to get over the hump.
Well, as you're going to see from some highlights here on the board afterwards, the defense certainly a lot better than it was on Friday, so some improvements for UNCW despite the setback to Valparaiso. Let's take a look now at our Reed's Jewelers highlights. 79-70, that's the final score there. You see the rebounds. The Seahawks held their own against this much taller Valparaiso team, but you go down to the field goal percentage, 42% for the Crusaders in this game. The Seahawks, 34%. Coach, you had some good looks, and that number skewed maybe a little bit because then you're trying to throw up some threes down the stretch in a comeback effort. But again, not the win, but I think, you know, in your mind, a lot of people's minds, that step forward that you want to see.
Yeah, it was progress, and I think everybody knows coming from that game what we need to do to get over the hump. The numbers are pretty comparable other than the free throw discrepancy in the second half. You know, same amount of turnovers. We had a lot more assists than they do. Obviously, our defensive pressure got to them. We got them out of their stuff. They still made some baskets, and we did not shoot as good a percentage as we wanted to. And we did get some, not all of our shots were tough shots. You know, we just missed some of the looks that we normally have made in the past few games. But the good news is we stepped up defensively, because in these other games when we missed those shots, we hadn't stepped up defensively, and we did this time, and I was really proud of our effort.
4 guys in double figures, a double-double for Kaycock in this game, 10 rebounds for Marcus Bryant on his birthday, a near double-double with 8 points to go along with those 10 rebounds as well. So some positives that come away from this game. They'll set back to Valparaiso for UNCW in Savannah. We'll take another break. When we get back, it is Jaylen Fornes, second-year player for UNCW. He's our focus today for our player profile. That's next. Well, today for our player profile, it's a sophomore. As we get into the sophomore class now, Jaylen Fornes changed his number this year to number 1, and right now, Coach, he's having a pretty solid season as a starter for this team. Last year, we saw some flashes, and this year, I think for him, you're seeing kind of the progression in year 2 for him in this program.
Yeah, I think he's starting to feel more comfortable, and obviously what we are encouraging is different than what Coach Keats was encouraging in terms of both ends of the court, and so it's a little adjustment for everybody. Not just him, not just the juniors, not just seniors, it's everybody, but he's doing a nice job. We really want him to rebound the ball more, which he's done. He's gotten the boards more often. He hasn't necessarily come up with them, but at least he's getting there, and he's doing what we want, and he's made some shots. He's getting out on the break, running the court, trying to get some stuff in transition, so he's doing a terrific job. Yeah,
a guy that can drive, a guy who can shoot as well. Nice perimeter game this year for the sophomore, Jaylen Fornes. Dustin Dorsey has more now, our AARP profile on Jaylen Fornes.
Jaylen Fornes is back for year 2 in his college career. He moves into the season with a new head coach at the helm, but he says that's nothing new for him.
Me personally, at all 4 years of high school, I had 4 different coaches, so that's nothing really new to me. So I'm accustomed to it, and I just take the bumps and roll with those.
A team with a brand new coaching staff and many new players can create some of those bumpy moments. But Fornes says things are off to a smooth start thanks to his relationship with the new staff.
I mean, starting with Coach McGrath, he came in and sort of took us in as a family, and we took him in as well. I knew Jackie from recruitment out of high school, so I was really happy to see him on board. And Coach Wolf, Coach Eslick, and Burke, and Matt Lynch, I mean, they're all pretty much a family, so I like them a whole lot.
With the new system and the departure of 4 of the top scorers on this team from a year ago, Fornes will be called upon to step up when the team needs him. This was the case in the game against Campbell when he put up career-high numbers. And he says he embraces the opportunity to shine.
I mean, I've been playing basketball my whole life, so I come in with a lot of confidence as it is. I definitely want that big role. I like the pressure, so I want that on my shoulders, and I plan to pretty much put together, a good game every night and try to come out and perform.
The fast-paced system Coach McGrath has brought to the team is one Fornes is familiar with given how the team liked to play last year. He says keeping the tempo high is important to get more out of his play.
I had to learn how to move without the ball a lot better. So personally it helps me with just expanding my game. Last year was new to me, so kind of sped me up and I was out of so early on, but I think I got it for the most part now.
Off the court, Fornes saw a change in his life as well as his mother passed away this summer. Now he lives to play in her honor and uses the tragedy as motivation.
I mean, it's one of the toughest things I've ever dealt with, of course. But I mean, the happiest she was seeing me on the court and these guys and how successful we were, so that's my motivation coming into the season pretty much.
Fornes can thank his mother for the motivation she gives him this season, but there's something else he can thank his mom for, something he says not many people know about him.
A lot of people don't know that I'm handsome, so I mean, I pretty much put that out there.
5 games into this season, it's not just his looks he's putting out there. He's also putting out some solid stat lines and emerging as one of the top players on the team. But no job on this team is safe. Coach McGrath wants this team to compete, and Fornes says they've been up to that task.
Everybody, guards-wise, everybody's coming in competing, and the bigs are competing with each other. I mean, there's a lot of competition out there because it's a lot of opportunity, so everybody wants to take advantage of that.
I'm Dustin Dorsey, and you're watching the CB McGrath Show.
Bring you back in time now for this week's Play of the Week. We rewind to the Savannah Invitational, the 2 games this week, and one play, particularly yesterday, stands out above the rest. Here is this week's Play of the Week. Drive in the dish here for Tally to Marcus Bryan. A nice feed for the CA's assist leader, Tally. And the birthday boy, Marcus Bryan, finishes on the end. It's this week's Play of the Week from yesterday's game with Valparaiso. We stick with Marcus Bryan because it's time now for the Molly Mae Glass Cleaner of the Week. And the first time it is not Devontae Kaycock, it is Marcus Bryan, the senior on this team. Some really good rebounding numbers this week, 9.5 rebounds overall. Averaged 3 rebounds on the offensive end, 6.5 on the defensive end, double digits with 10 yesterday against Valpo, second time this season. Coach, he's your 5-man. He's a little undersized, especially going up against some of these teams you saw this weekend, but he's doing a nice job to kind of be a complimentary player, but then give you some good minutes out there as well.
Absolutely, he's doing a terrific job, especially on the rebounding end. You know, he's always in position defensively to help us, and then therefore he's always in position to box out, and he does a nice job sometimes just with teams that have extra length, they can keep it alive. But, you know, for what he's done for us so far, you know, he's done terrific, and we hope that he keeps doing that the rest of the season because he's becoming a staple for us inside.
Yeah, near double-double yesterday against Valparaiso. It is Marcus Bryan, the senior, this week's Molly Mae Glass Cleaner of the Week. As for the Carolina Ford Player of the Week, will someone take it away from Tally? No. It is Jordan Tally for a 3rd straight week here, 16.5 points, 4.5 rebounds. Shot really well from the free throw line there, and he was the only Seahawk that was on the all-tournament team. Didn't shoot great from the field yesterday, Coach, but a 20-point performance against Loyola, and again, still continues to be the motor for this team as your point guard.
Yeah, he's doing a great job, and the assist stats aren't like last week, but he got us open shots. We just didn't make the number of open shots that we did the previous week, and but he is that motor, and he's done a great job. And you know, he'd be the first one to admit he's probably disappointed a little bit with yesterday. He didn't shoot a great percentage from the field, but that happens. You know, if you give consistent effort and consistent concentration, shots are going to fall some days are not, and so you can't control that. But we're proud of what he did yesterday and all weekend.
And this season as well, currently, as I mentioned, 1st in the league, averaging 8 assists a game. He's 5th in the league in scoring right now at 17.6 points a game. So really doing a great job taking that leadership role seriously here as a senior. And he is once again our Carolina Ford Player of the Week. It is the senior Jordan Tally. Some really good numbers this week. Well, stay with us. Just one game ahead for UNCW, but it's a big one. It's a rivalry for the Seahawks, and we'll talk about that coming up next. Well, we take a look at this week's schedule delivered by Papa John's. Just the one game on the road. The Seahawks at East Carolina Thursday night at 8 o'clock. We'll have the call starting at 7:45 on the Seahawk Digital Network, also on the Ticket FM as well. And Coach, a little strange situation where it's the second time you're facing them because you played them at least for 13 minutes in the Jamboree in Chapel Hill and beat them 24-22. But I would think it's going to be a little different regular season-wise.
Yeah, and you know, basketball's a game of runs, so 13 minutes is not a real basketball game. That's why we play 40 minutes. And I don't think either team showed all their cards because we knew we were going to play each other, and we used different lineups and all those kind of things just to get people out on the court for the fundraiser and just the Jamboree in general. But, you know, we did see them, they did see us, so we do have some familiarity, and we're looking forward to getting on the road and getting up to ECU. For
what it's worth, Tally had 8 points, Estime 7, and Marcus Bryan 7 rebounds in that exhibition win against East Carolina earlier this season. So, Coach, one game this week. Best of luck against the Pirates.
Thank you very much, Mike.
For CB McGrath, our entire staff, thanks for joining us here. We'll see you next week for another edition of the CB McGrath TV show. Have a great week, everybody.
The CB McGrath Show is brought to you by your Carolina Ford dealers, Papa John's, AARP, Reed's Jewelers, Molly Mae, and Harris Teeter.